Riddle me this, Roomy.
I was like, why? What a start for that. What is that about? But now I get it.
Nothing. He's just wearing a stupid shirt. But what's not stupid is checking out our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Launchpad Pod, on our website, launchpadpod.com. Watch us on YouTube. We have handsome faces, and we think we're funny when we talk. So it's fun to check us out, see the goofy faces I make. It was
another seamless transition, I have to say, too.
Yes, perfect. We're so good at it. We're like professionals when it comes to podcasting, transitions.
What's better about us than most people is we pointed out. We're like, did you guys notice we just seamlessly transitioned from one topic to the next without bringing it to your attention?
It's like the comedian who's like, here's a joke. Nobody laughs. And you go, I'm going to explain the joke to you. And then you better fucking laugh. And you're like, Guys, today we are talking about the 2021 Halloween Kills. Evil dies tonight. Evil dies tonight. I have a big old knife in my pocket for this one. This movie slapped, in my opinion. I think Roomy has a different opinion, but we're going to find out on today's Launchpad Podcast.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, welcome to Launchpad Podcast. I'm Aaron.
I'm Matt.
I'm a little amped up today because I got a new Freddy. Check him out behind me.
I see. That's pretty cool. Tell us a little bit about that.
That is a Dark Ride Freddy. That is the creme de la creme, chef's kiss of Freddy silicone mask. It does not get better than that. That is a Part 2 V2. So this is the second version he's done, the second iteration that he's done of the Part 2 Freddy's Revenge. And Dark Ride masks are just like the top of the line, the best of the best. He is only making a couple of these ones, and then he's, I think he's just moving on to some other things, but I'm just really lucky to get one. And you got to check out Dark Ride stuff. He really is a master at the Freddy mask game and just a fantastic sculptor, painter, mask maker. Incredible stuff. Like, just incredible. And you guys will see more pictures as Halloween comes around. You'll see a lot of pictures of this, but I am super pumped to get one of these in my collection.
Yay!
Yeah!
I'm happy you're happy. It looks cool. Roomy sent me pictures of himself wearing it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty baller. I like that.
It is pretty baller. But today we're not talking about Freddy. I could talk about Freddy all day. We are talking about Halloween Kills. This is the sequel to 2018's Halloween. Couldn't even come up with a fun moniker for its sequel, but I figured it out. Somebody explains to me because I was like, why are they doing this now? Candyman. You already made Candyman. Halloween. You already made Halloween. They keep doing this where they just Fast and Furious. You already made 9 of them. You can't just... Why
you don't know why they're doing that?
Well, they're doing it because if somebody searches for Candyman, they want their movie to pop up too, and they don't care that it's the same title. They want it to just be there.
Oh, I see. I thought you were talking about why are we making movies for the 30th in the franchise. You're saying, why do you call it the same movie?
Yeah, why is Halloween 2018 called Halloween and not Halloween the next thing in the movie franchise? Or Halloween the sequel that ignored the other sequels? We call it whatever you want. It's stupid, but they just want people, if they Google it, that's the thing that pops up.
It's like the opposite of wanting yours to be the one that ends the franchise. Like, Friday the 13th, Freddy's dead. And I know I crossed franchises. It was on purpose.
Well, we're about to get it for the third. Yeah. The third franchise is Halloween Ends. Is it really? Is it going to end? Is it really going to end? Or until we get Halloween 2027? Anyway.
I like when you well, mine's called The Halloween. And you're like, fuck yourself.
Yes. The last Halloween. So, yeah, this is a sequel to the one that came out in 2018, which is a sequel to the first one from 1978. I've been obsessed with 1978's Halloween this week because I watched it and 2018 back to back. And it's the first year that I've been like, you know what?
What order did you watch them?
1978, 2018, back to back.
Okay. Same day?
same day. First time I have been like, you know what, Halloween? I respect you as much as I think you deserve. For the first time ever watching Halloween 1978, felt like, damn, you know what? This is actually a pretty damn solid movie. I have been bored to tears by that movie in the past, distracted enough to turn it off. That movie has always just been something that's there, and I respect it for being Michael Myers. You know what? You can't knock it. I'm not saying it's a bad movie at all. It just has never landed with me the way a Freddy has, the way a Nightmare on Elm Street has, the way Candyman has, or even Scream. Halloween has always just been like, there's the grandfather of the slasher franchise. He deserves respect, but it's not my jam. I mean, my favorite of the franchise is still Halloween 3, which a lot of people are like, what? The one without Michael Myers? It's like, quit whining. That movie. That's
like the Elseworlds Halloween. Yeah, it's great for what it is, but
it's phenomenal. If it wasn't called Halloween, you guys would love it. Also, It kept your shitty franchise from tanking one film earlier, so settle the fuck down.
Well, not everybody shares that opinion, but I certainly do. I felt for the longest time similar to you, but I don't think it's harsh about the original. I didn't think it was boring. I just didn't necessarily care. I understood that it was historically important. I understood, like you said it was grandfather of the slasher genre. I like that. It started a lot of tropes, or at least perpetuated a lot of tropes, and was the forerunner for a lot of what we now understand as that genre of horror.
Yeah.
But it was one of those, like, you watch that and I was like, I understand all that, but lukewarm on the movie. Certainly not one that was like needed to be in the rotation or that I cared about. But the last, I don't know, maybe 5 or 8 years ago, somewhere around there, it just clicked for me. Like, it sounds like what it did for you. I couldn't tell you why, but I just was like, actually, this is fucking, and it might have been when I started watching the whole franchise, and I was just like, I just got into the character and the mythos. I like what it is. And then you go back and watch the first one again, and you're like, all that other nonsense that happens later. And there is a great deal of nonsense as you wade through that franchise. But that first one is just very streamlined and perfect for what it is. And I think it's super
100%.
Enjoyable.
Yeah. The only person I feel sorry for in this whole franchise is Danielle Harris, because her character, Danny Lloyd, is one of the best of the later franchise and one of the best child actors you'll find in a horror movie.
Yep, I would agree.
But those movies suck. Oh my God, they suck. Like, they're so boring. Loomis is a batshit crazy man, and he's batshit crazy from the get-go. Shitty doctor, batshit crazy. What an asshole. Loomis is an asshole. But after I watched the movie,
shot him 6 times.
6 times. We gotta kill him. Can you imagine meeting somebody and be like, you're his doctor? Do no harm?
You're a scientist and you're calling him evil? Do you have any quantitative data on that?
He's fucking magic. He's a goddamn wizard and we gotta kill him. Like, if a doctor started talking like that, well, up until the past 3 years, I would have thought a doctor talking like that was batshit crazy. But now it's like, yeah, God, he's just another American patriot. But it's like, so he's batshit crazy in the later ones. But the first one is so solid. I watched the movies that made us, the Halloween one, and it made me really respect the craft. Did you watch that
before or after you rewatched the first one?
Before.
Okay. So maybe it was like a good little palate cleanser to kind of put you back on.
And it gave me some things you're like, you know what, I really respect the hard work that got put into it. And like, you know, they were struggling, young, fresh out of film school guys, like really busting their ass to make a movie, and they cared about it. And some of the stuff that they thought about, I respected that. And like, when you watch that movie and you're like, you know what, they did think about that. Maybe I didn't see that before, that they're trying to make, you know, why is the movie bloodless? Because you don't need it. Okay. Before I'd be like, that's fucking bullshit. And maybe I still am a little bit, but you did it. You stuck to your guns on it. The only blood we see are spilled across his sister's boobs, but but it's a cool movie. And that first Steadicam shot through the eye holes of the mask is so iconic and so cool. And it really just sets up a really interesting film. And they really craft some creepy shit. And Jamie Lee Curtis is fan-fucking-tastic in that movie. And I love everything they set up. Well, so they made a movie, and then 2018 rolls around. They're like, hey, we need a better sequel. I agree. They do need a better sequel. Halloween 2.
I like 2.
I like 2, but Halloween 2 does. But Halloween 2 does the thing that no movie ever needs to do, and goes, guess what? It's her brother. What? Immediately off the bat. It's so fucking stupid. What a stupid thing. You couldn't be fresher just by making the movie a sequel. Like, it's just a sequel. They're like, we need to turn it on its head. And that was a mistake. where I feel Halloween 2018 didn't need to turn it on its head. Is like, let's bring better characters to the movie. Let's keep the movie fresh by having different things happen, have the location be bigger. Halloween 1 is a very small film. It's like 2 houses across the street from each other, and that's about it. And then when we get to Halloween 2018, they kind of bring the whole town into it. And by the time we get to Halloween Kills, the whole town is really into it. And we don't see that in many of the Halloween movies. They're very small features as far as like locations go and like how many people need to be involved with it. And anytime you start adding the cult and all that shit, I was like, oh my God.
That is completely unnecessary. I mean, I credit to them for sticking with it for 3 or 4 movies of like, this was a stupid idea, but we're not gonna leprechaun it and just change the entire mythos. We're gonna stick with what we said last time.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like it, but it also then it you could say it tanks the franchise, but it definitely makes it more of like a shitty movie Sunday thing, which I enjoy, so it's okay, but it certainly is not a shadow of the original one, right? And
at least they give you that opportunity to be like, well, it's bad enough that I'm still having a good time because this is getting cheesy, but you know, and I think 2018 did a good job. Watching it back to back, it made me appreciate it more. And I liked it more the first time than you did, I believe, right?
I didn't like it much at all the first time, if I remember correctly. I think there's a lot of things that made me be like, why would that be the case? And like there was scenes and subplots that I was like, why are you spending time telling me that when it doesn't really seem to factor in? If I remember, I have to like, I didn't rewatch it.
So mad about a guy who got a tattoo.
Well, because they just made a big deal of it. We're like, hey, this is a tattoo, and we're telling you about it. And I was like, okay. They're like, but don't worry about it. It's not important. I'm like, then why are you wasting my time?
Because it's a joke. It's funny. It's funny, and I didn't expect it to be funny. But when I saw it this time, I was like, that's hilarious. He got the day he died tattooed on his arm. What a dummy. What a fucking moron. And that's the joke, because the kid's like, you're a fucking moron. And to the boy, the mouthy kid, you know, like that guy, you know, he's mean to the boyfriend. He's saying, calling him bullshit. And then he dies with his date of death on his arm. What a chode. Hilarious. The whole movie.
I don't get the joke, but all right.
That's not funny. That's super ironic and just silly. Like it's funny.
It just it just seems like a very pointed thing. Like that seems like a thing that like
it's not necessary.
Like my mom would be like, make sure you tell Aaron this, and I'm like, but he doesn't care, Mom. She's like, but make sure. Okay, Mom, I'll tell him. And then I tell you, and you're like, why did Matt's mom want me to know that? And it's like that's how that fell. It's like, make sure you do the thing with the tattoo. So you're like, okay.
I will say, you know, it's pretty ham-fisted, but you want to talk about fisted, look at 4, 5, and 6 of the original franchise. Those aren't ham-fisted. They're just straight up raw fucking plowed, like just terrible. This at least is ham-fisted. You're going to be over the top.
Well, I would say 2018, if I remember correctly, is a better, I mean, it's not a bad movie. It wasn't like I was like, this is shittily made or stupidly thought out. No, there were a couple things like that took me out of it, where I was like, okay, from making a movie standpoint, why are you spending time telling me this? And I have some of that for Halloween Kills, but I think I understand it more, and it's not as glaring. But 2018 was not bad, and I need to rewatch it. And actually, I'm glad that you told me that like we should maybe talk about Halloween Kills for this, because I assumed that it was on Peacock, that you had to pay for it on Peacock. So I was just going to wait a little bit. But then I looked, I was like, oh, it's fucking free. I'm going to watch it right now.
Yes. And here's the good thing is, like, when I watched it back to back, Halloween and Halloween back to back, it's actually a really good sequel. The character seamlessly transitioned, and suddenly she's scarred and damaged. And I was like, that's really cool. The way they did it was really cool. There's so many things that I picked up that I was like, that's actually really cool. Great Steadicam shots. The daughter hates Halloween because of her mom being such a psycho about it. She wears a Christmas sweater on Halloween. I never noticed that in the first film.
I didn't know that since Halloween Kills. I saw that too.
So let's start unless you got more to say about Halloween 2018, let's get into Halloween.
No. And I'll start it off. I have a good place to start it off is I started watching it yesterday morning. I felt like shit. I was in bed and I turned it on, and the second it starts, you have that John Carpenter score, right? And especially in the first 10 minutes, they hit a lot of those really important sound and score notes. It immediately felt like Halloween, the season for me, as well as the movie. And for me, no joke, really the franchise Halloween has become in my mind and kind of in my heart synonymous with Halloween, the season, and fall. Like, it is not fall until I'm decorating my classroom while listening to the Halloween soundtrack. And that's when it starts for me. I bought some of those old, I think it's called Bastille. It's this,
Yes.
it's the old Halloween decorations that we grew up with. I bought some of those specifically because I remember them up in the school when I was a kid. So that's when Halloween starts for me, is when I start hearing that music. And to see some shots of fall, some good Michael Myers flashback at the beginning of Halloween Kills with that music. My October started yesterday.
How good were the flashbacks? I thought, and some people are complaining about this, but like to see what the cops were doing while he shot him 6 times, awesome. And then when you see Loomis walk through the door, and it's actually one of the best uses of, I don't know if they got a body double and some CGI. I think it's a little mix of both, but that guy looks like Loomis.
It looked like him, yeah.
And it's not fucking creepy, like, hi, I'm Princess Leia's wax figure
I'm
alive.
Mark Hamill, young.
Young, like all that creepy shit. Stop doing that, Hollywood. We know you can do it. Either do it right or don't do it all. But you know what? It's a good magic trick. Don't flaunt it. Just show it and get away from it. So we went, oh man, there's young Mark Hamill, and then cut to his back. Like, we don't need to linger on it where we're like, we're doing it right, and then you're like, you were until I looked at it longer. Now you're not. Like, and if they had held on Loomis longer, maybe it would have fallen apart. But when they put him in there, I was like, damn, Loomis. And it sounded like him. He looked like him. I love seeing that scene, that expanded thing. Did you notice who that cop was? The one that gets shot in the throat?
I noticed that his voice sounded like he'd already been shot in the throat the entire time.
He's the guy from Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Oh, he did look really familiar, and I did know that I'd seen him in a horror movie recently. There you go.
This movie is crammed full of awesome people, not only from the previous iterations of the franchise, but all over the place. Great cast members.
We'll get into that too. I love this whole flashback is showing all the cops. First of all, cop sees Michael Myers, tells him to stop. Michael Myers doesn't stop. He starts shooting down the alley. Just love that.
Wild shit.
Then a minute later, there's 3 kids bullying another kid, and a cop car swings up to him. He's like, what are you kids doing? They're like, just trick or treating. He's like, you okay? You see a guy walking around here? They're like, no, why are you being so weird? He's like, there's a creepy guy walking around. And they're like, it's Halloween. And he's like, well, this guy he said he murdered 3 teens down the street. And then the cop just peels out. And I was like, how baller for a cop to just be like, yo, underage kids, some kids just got murdered.
It was
just peel out.
It was the 70s, man. It's a different time. Dude, and who are they bullying? Young Lonnie Elam, who looks awesome, by the way, because I had just watched the first one. He looks just like the Lonnie Elam from the first movie, or at least well enough that you're like, oh, shit.
It was a mix of CG and Donald Pleasance.
Mark Hamill in there. But they did a great job with it. And I love that it showed that he was getting bullied. So it just passed down, because in the first movie, he's bullying Tommy Doyle. So I think it's like, wow, bullies beget bullies. Oh my God, bet. And I thought that was cool. It was fucking great. And then he gets freaked out and pisses his pants over Michael Myers, which I was like, that's fun too.
Although that happens, and then they're like, oh, he joined our support group. He was like, Michael Myers walked over him. I don't know that he survived an encounter, I guess. But I feel like...
I feel like here's one part that I was like, did he build that up to them? I had to escape him and he had a knife. Or did he tell them, yeah, I saw him and he looked at me and then walked away?
He looked up and he licked his lips and he took the knife out and I started scrambling. He tried to grab my shoe, but then I kept running. That's not what that cop said before he peeled out.
But watching all these together, my wife actually enjoyed this movie, and she enjoyed all 3 of them. She's like, these are actually pretty good. She said Blumhouse worked really hard in 2018 to deserve the respect of the franchise. And then she said, they're trying to show the audience and the fans that they aren't going to wiener all over it.
Fair. And I think that's true, because there's a couple things in this that are nuanced, and a couple things in this structurally that I don't care for. But it's not because of my love for the original franchise. It's not because I feel like they're spitting in my face as an audience, which, in my opinion, happens a lot in remakes and reboots and updates and stuff like that. A lot of times I feel like they disrespect the audience in one way, shape, or form. And I think I might be more oversensitive to that than the next moron, but I definitely am sensitive to that, where I'm like, dude, I feel shitted on because of what you're doing.
Yep.
This, I didn't feel that at all. And
I think the first one, they played it a little safe because they needed to gain our trust of the franchise. This one threw it all out the window and said, fuck shit up. Fuck shit up. And this one, Michael gives no fucks. This is one of the biggest body counts I've ever seen in a movie outside of Hatchet. like Victor Crowley is the only person who I see fuck people up this much. He's fucking an entire town up. He gives no shits. Anybody who comes at him, he murders him. All to look out a fucking window. That's all he wants to do is look out his goddamn window. And he will murder you if you stand in his way. And I don't care. I love it. This is the 13th film in a franchise that is severely mediocre until they started rebooting it. You guys have to get over that. 4, 5, and 6 are fine. If you enjoy them, that's great. But they're not good. The kills aren't even good. Loomis isn't even fun to watch because he's too crazy. They're sentimental. That's fine. They're fun to laugh at. That's fine. This one said, I'm going to be balls to the wall. This is what we deserve in the 11th hour of a franchise. If you can't get on board with the body count, this is what modern slashers are. They don't have to be smart. This one at least tried to be smart. If you don't agree, that's fine. I'm not going to fight you that there's some stupid parts to it. But
it sounds like you might fight them.
At the 11th film in a franchise, at least it's delivering on the promise of the title, Halloween Kills. He's killing.
And to that wit, the last one ended, they trapped him in this house and shot him and burned him up. The house is burning. They escape. The firemen come and they're putting out the house. A fireman falls into the basement. Michael Myers rolls up a door and kills him with the like a fireman hook saver tool.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's a brutal kill. He's got to hit him in the face a couple times to get through the fireman mask, and then it impales his face. It's great. Then he walks outside and like 20 firemen look at him. And he looks at them, and I was like, this is stupid. And he looks at them, and then he just gets in this giant fight with them. And I was like, this is fucking awesome. Makes no sense. It's I don't know why any of that would really happen like that, but who gives a shit? It's cool as hell. It really, at that point, I was like, okay, I know I'm going to like this.
Comes in with this fucking giant chainsaw, like circ saw thing.
It was like a jaw of life type of saw.
It's a concrete cutter. Yeah, it's for cutting down giant things fastly with it. It's like a giant buzz saw. And the guy comes at Michael Myers, and Michael Myers just grabs it and just turns it back on him, cutting him up.
Awesome. It was that long. I mean, it wasn't one long shot, but it was just a big fight scene. It was like a gun kata type thing with Michael Myers versus a bunch of fire hiders. And I love that theoretically Michael Myers is not what he is at the end of the first franchise, because this is only theoretically the third movie in this continuity. So they don't necessarily know Michael Myers. But can you imagine if you're a fireman, then even if you're a badass fireman, and you go to put out a fire and some guy walks out dressed like Michael Myers in a mask, holding a fireman's tool. Let's just say you could see blood on the fireman's tool. Your instinct is to fight him?
Yeah, I think they'd be like, let it burn. Let it burn. All right, bye. Bye.
Like,
we're hopping in our truck.
Way. Like, what are you doing? But okay, it made for an awesome scene.
Guys, I think there's a cat somewhere we need to save. Fuck this house. But seriously, how badass is that scene? I love it. He walks out, and the first thing a firefighter guy is like sprays him with the hose, and Michael Myers just stands there. And you're like, ice cold. Ice cold. And then we cut to back into the town, and we get to meet some of the characters. And the cool thing is they're characters we saw in the first movie in 2018, not the first movie. Well, actually, they are some of the characters from the first movie. Fucking Tommy Doyle, all grown up. Little idiot Elam, all grown up. We get the little girl. What was her name? Lucy? But the little girl,
the babysitting kids.
The babysitting kids, Lindsay. And the nurse. Remember what happened to the nurse in the first movie? Nobody cared, but she's in the movie. I'm great. Happy to see her. And this doctor and his wife, who are dressed as a doctor and a nurse, are at this bar hanging out for a talent show. There's a hot ventriloquist dummy. Actually, it's not.
I wrote that in my notes. I wrote dummy ... hot ...
No, it's an old man dummy, so not that.
If you guys don't know why we think ventriloquist dummies are hot, you need to listen to more episodes. Go back and listen to our which episode was that? We talk about fucking ventriloquist dummies.
I don't know. It was ridiculous,
you got to listen to the last 5 or 6 episodes and find that one, because Aaron goes off about boning Jeff Dunham's best friends.
But it's a good scene, and it lays out characters. You're like, I'm excited to see these people back. I'm excited to see what happens. And it had some good shots. There's a cool shot. They get Lori to the hospital, and Jamie Lee Curtis is all fucked up from the last movie. They're doing surgery on her, like tearing open her stomach, and her daughter, played by Judy Greer, is washing her hands, and they're covered in blood. And she washes her hands, and you see her ring, her wedding ring. And it's like, oh, fuck, her husband's dead. Mm-hmm. That's a cool shot. That's smart. Yeah. It tells you more without saying it, without having to be flashback to her husband. They did a good job with it. was cool.
She was one of my favorite characters in this movie.
Yeah.
I thought they developed her in a very subtle but nuanced way that made me care about her, which I thought was interesting. I don't know that I care really about any other characters, but she was good, and I like that idea of her. So you get we get introduced to these characters. We have Anthony Michael Hall. Is that his name?
Yeah, that's Tommy Doyle.
Anthony Michael Hall, who I know from Breakfast Club and 16 Candles and all those movies. He was also in some of the Family Vacation stuff. He's like a man, and he has like a man body and a man head, and he looks intimidating. And I would have never thought that little teenage actor would grow up to be a grown-up man.
Yeah. And
he plays a guy who I could see at the front of a mob, and I would be concerned if that mob was after me. He's, they talk about heavy-handed. The whole mob situation is very ham-fisted. I like the idea of it, but he plays Tommy Doyle, who is one of the kids who Jamie Lee Curtis was babysitting in the first Halloween.
Yeah.
And he's a survivor, and he talks at this bar about, where's this survivors club and me and this nurse and this other kid. And, let's remember our people who survived Michael Meyers' bullshit.
Yeah. And
then it cuts to these two old people in a house playing with a drone for some reason. And you're like, okay, fine.
So here's something hilarious. He goes, hey, you want to try this Beaujolais? And Kate goes, Beaujolais doesn't come out till the second week before Thanksgiving. I was like, you would know that. That's awesome. She's like, if they're drinking a Beaujolais that's old, they're doing it wrong. You can't age Beaujolais. She knew that they were just full of shit. She's like, Halloween is not a Beaujolais time, but it's a Christmas wine.
They got to throw that shit in there for the women so that the women are like, oh, Beaujolais, I know about that.
Yeah, but they picked the wrong holiday for it.
Suckers.
Idiots. But that was a cool scene too, because I don't know if I'm supposed to know who those people are, but when he stabs her in the throat with a like fluorescent bulb, that was like, oh Lord, that was messed up, man.
So those people, I'm not sure if I know who they are too, but this movie
in the
definitely
first movie. Briefly.
The movie definitely did a lot in the original, they definitely did a lot of, or in this movie, they did a lot of casting the original cast from the original. Anthony Michael Hall and one other actor or actress were the only people who they switched the actors and the actresses that played them. They had a lot of people who were kids they were kid actors in Halloween 79. They made them reprise their role here.
Cool. Really cool.
That scene where this woman and this old man get killed made me realize something about these movies in particular, Last Halloween and this Halloween. Oh, they should have called that one Last Halloween in retrospect. But these movies are very brutal. The kills are very brutal. And I was trying to figure, to me, it's a bit much and it's not my taste. We've seen worse movies and more brutal things, but there is that line that it's not fun anymore. And I think that line is probably different for every person, right? Yeah,
because this one is that sweet spot for me, and the one that pushed it too far is Rob Zombie Halloween. And those are
Rob Zombie before, I think Rob Zombie is brutal, and it's not just for Rob Zombie's Halloweens, it's not just, and it's even some of his other movies, it's not just the kills. It's the way the characters talk to each other and
nobody's having fun.
Each other, and it's just so gross. In this movie, first of all, for me, and this has always been a thing for me, I can't stand in movies when you watch a brutal home invasion, especially when one person has to watch another person be victimized. I have a hard time watching them watch that.
Funny Games is not your movie, huh?
That I had never seen it, but because of that reason. But movies have scenes like that. And when you think about it, there's plenty of movies that have victimization. There's plenty of movies that have rapes. There's plenty of movies that have brutal kills that I have no problem with. And I like the movies, or at least that scene doesn't weird me out. This scene that I'm talking about now, there's this old man, this old woman. Michael Myers is trying to get in the house. He grabs this guy through a window and he smashes his head and he's stabbing him repeatedly on broken glass. And it's brutal. And I was like, oh shit, that's brutal. Then he comes in and he takes a overhead fluorescent bulb, like a long one, smashes it. So he's just got half of a jagged thing. And he stabs her in the neck with it. And you're like, oh shit. And you see it all. It's like, oh, that's brutal.
It's fucking gnarly.
And as that happened, I was like, man, that's brutal. And for me, I feel like in the 70s and the 80s, you would have either seen a less clean shot of it, or it would have happened off camera, and then it would have been a reveal either right away or later in the movie. You'd find them with the tube sticking out of their neck or something. Mm-hmm. And that reveal to me is less brutal. It's less visceral than watching him jab it in there, right? It's shot so that it's brutal. And I'm not saying that it's bad or that I don't like it, but it's very close to that line for me. And in this movie, the part that lost me was then I think it cuts away and it comes back and he has pulled the man onto the cutting board and he's just grabbing knives out of a knife scabbard and just stabbing them one at a time. And you're watching it over her shoulder as she watches him get stabbed. And to me, that's not fun anymore. I can't. And the movie was good enough. It didn't lose me. And I didn't leave after that. But for me, that's definitely over my line. I don't want to watch someone else watch their husband be tortured. Like, to me, that's not fun anymore. That being said, I like John Wick, and John Wick is fucking brutal as shit, and I love that. So it's weird. There's times where I'm going to like it, I guess, and there's times where I'm not going to like it.
I can understand why this one, why that specific one kind of took it to a level. It is a little sadistic, but to me, that hit a sweet spot. Like that's as much as I want it to go. You know, I think, but that was not over your line. You were okay with that? It's harsh. It's I think that's maybe one of the harsher moments of the movie. I'm trying to think if there's any others that are like. There was brutal stuff, but there was nothing else that I was like, I could have done without that. And that was for me. That was that. Maybe. It didn't bump me that hard. Like I said, that hits a sweet spot of nastiness in a horror movie for me, where it's like that's bad, but I'm not out at that point. Yeah, I wasn't out, but there have been movies that I was like if that happens, like Rob Zombie, that was his bread and butter. I was like, nope, I'm not watching this. Oh yeah. Rob Zombie was way into that shit, where they'd like keep it going, and then he'd drag her out into the yard and stab her a few more times, and you're like, oh god, like it would drag you through the ringer. But I thought that light bulb kill was really cool, and very, very disturbing. But also, why do that kill on people we don't know or necessarily care about when you could have saved it for that movie? Somebody who has a lot of that. But you know what? Like, I like the pincushion kill. I thought that was cool. But if the woman was dead and Michael Myers was just stabbing that guy with knives from the thing, I would be fine with that. But the fact that we had to watch him get tortured, brutal. That does it for me. But I thought so after this, the town gets involved. And this is the first time I think I've ever seen a movie where I feel like people reacted appropriately to supernatural killer in their midst. Let's all go fuck this guy up. Let's do that. Let's fuck this guy up. The cops aren't doing their job. Let's fuck them up. And I think especially now in the time where we've seen a lot of crazy mob mentality one way or another, I thought that this was a very interesting way to show that. And they showed sort of the plus side of a mob mentality, like they're not going to kill Michael Myers. Let's go do it. And then also the negative side of the mob mentality. Hey, let's go kill this guy who looks like the Penguin. Obviously not Michael Myers. There's a moment where this guy shows up and he's one of the insane, somebody who escaped from the insane asylum with Michael Myers. And we saw him in the first movie, and he's just some sad, crazy guy. He looks like the Penguin. Everybody's like, Michael Myers, kill him. And it's like, obviously not. No, we're gonna. That's kind of getting ahead of a little. If we're going chronologically here, but yes, I have a whole lot to say about that. But mob mentality. I like the idea of the mob mentality in this. Although part of me was thinking, like, nobody yet knows about in this universe. Nobody yet knows. Let's say, for the sake of argument, most of the town does not know Michael Myers. Like in the original franchise, after the third, fourth, fifth movie, people in town know the legend of Michael Myers. I think that's not true. I think everybody knew about him, but people were forgetting. Everybody was like, you would dare me to go up to that house as a kid. Everybody was talking about that. So but that being said, some of the kids didn't. Do we know, or I guess, but you just watched 2018. Mm-hmm. Is he supernatural in that movie? Because as of second one, we know he's at least survived 6 gunshot wounds and getting stabbed in the eye with a hanger, right? Yeah. And in the second one, only Laurie Strode, and I love her. She's like, only Laurie Strode and his new doctor. Oh, you're the new Loomis. I love that line. Mm-hmm. They think he's pure evil, the devil incarnate. Right. You know, blah, 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 blah. You know, they're talking crazy, and nobody believes them. At the end of Halloween Kills, he's the Incredible Hulk, where the angrier he gets, the more kills he has, the more strong and like indestructible he becomes. Which, okay, I'm fine with that. I mean, sure. In this franchise, there's been much dumber things. So, well, I like the idea of the mob happening, but I love like Tommy is the leader of the mob, right? Tommy Doyle, Anthony Michael Hall.
Now, the funny thing is,
with his bat,
he
old
gets so
Huckleberry.
much mobbing going with like weird, stupid shit. He pulls into a gas station. He's like, "Hey, everyone in this gas station, come over here. I need your help. We got to get this guy. He's gonna, I'm like, okay. You're like, okay. Let's just assume that happens. He says, you go down this street and this street. You go down this street and this street. That way we can close them off." And I'm like, okay, I'm going to assume that the geography of what you're saying makes sense because we haven't been establishing that place, but like, fine. Then he goes, he thinks you're going one place and you pop up somewhere else. You got to surprise him. And I was like, what? How do you, like, if, let's say me and you went to fucking Jack in the Box, then we went to go get gas and Tommy Doyle pulls up and gives us guns and is like, hey, we got to fucking kill this serial killer who you know about and, you know the lore about, and we're all on board. If he said to me, you got to keep him guessing, you got to make him surprised. He said this, and I quote, he thinks you're going one place and you pop up somewhere else. I would be like, I'm sorry. How do I convince him I'm going one place and pop up something else? That actually sounds like something that Michael Meyers would do. How do you do like
before he goes, you got to think like him.
Right. But how do I like pop up on Michael Myers?
See, I love that you're asking that question because I go, I think one of us is getting shot tonight. I am accidentally.
When we get the teenagers involved.
I am accidentally going to shoot one of you. So,
I wouldn't be in the same car with you with two guns. There's
apology. No, I would have to be in the same car with you so I don't accidentally shoot you. Like I'm going to make sure I'm shooting like Tommy Doyle.
You sit in the front. You're
catching a bullet in the ass at least, if not one in the face. Because in the first movie, we saw a guy get popped in the face in the shoulder on accident. Some kid was like, "Oh shit," and shot the guy. How did they like? The body count in this movie is enormous. I wonder how many of it that we didn't see on screen were just like idiots running around with guns.
Gunshots. Yeah, that's why the hospital was so crowded.
Yeah,
it was most of those people in the gurneys and shit were not Michael Myers victims. They were accidental.
I was just reading. I was reading this book, the comic book about Ed Gein. You know what Eddie Gein done? And it says the day they found the bodies on his farm was the first day of hunting season, and 40 people died in accidental gunshots in a hunting season accident. And you think that would make front page news, but this overshadowed it because of how grisly it emerged. It's like, how many people do you think accidentally shot each other on this night?
Well, the best is, and I wrote in my notes, like, I love the idea of the posse.
Yeah.
The one guy who was bullied as a kid, he's leaving with two teenagers.
Lonnie Elam, yeah. And he's letting
would you give
the youngest one have a shotgun.
Distraught. Yeah. And they're and she's holding it with a flashlight in the same hand. Get the fuck out of here. But okay. He's riding around with them with shotguns. They've both lost friends and family, and they're going after this, let's just call him a regular old serial killer. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not trusting a teenager in a gun or with a gun in the car behind me. No way.
Well, especially at one point, he's like, I'm going to go in the house alone. I'm like, no, don't leave them alone here because they're going to follow you in a second and they're going to shoot you. They're going to shoot you while you're sneaking around looking for Michael Myers. They're going to sneak in because they're not waiting 5 minutes for you. He's like, stay here, honk the horn if there's a problem. Right. They didn't honk one horn. They just went right the fuck in.
Let's go in.
Yeah, we waited 5 minutes.
I like the idea of the posse. I did think like having it be Michael Myers survivors seems like the concept of that seems a little bit forced and a little on the nose, but at the same time, it's in line with 2018 because you have Laurie Strode, who is this post-traumatic stress woman who's now turned
Prepping,
into like a defensive, offensive trap mode. So I like that this certainly lives in that universe. It poses a cool idea of like, wouldn't it be cool to have a sequel of, name it, a Freddy, a Jason, a Michael Myers movie where you have the survivors of each movie band together? Like, think of all like the Jason Final Girls and Final People got together. Because this one you have like a nurse and 3 kids who are all varying ages and shit. And then they, their story reaches out to a young doctor and a young nurse who decide that they're going to do it. But like, all right. So...
I mean, but I think it's really cool when they go off and like you just see the different groups just get decimated by Michael. There's a group in a car with the nurse, and the nurse, and they all get fucked up. And I love the reveal as they find them like basically slaughtered on the playground, and they're wearing the Halloween 3 masks. Yeah, and I was like,
they teased those earlier in the scene, but that scene in the car where Michael Myers is killing everybody is cool. But the nurse, the doctor who is dressed as a nurse, the sexy nurse, she is like, she takes that big Desert Eagle from her husband, is like, I know how to fire these. Then once shit goes down, she freaks out and jumps out the window and runs away from the car. And then a minute later runs back. And I was like, where's the deleted scene of whatever she was doing for the last 35 seconds while 2 people got killed in that car?
She's trying to figure shit out, and then she runs back and accidentally shoots herself in the face.
Shot out the headlights of everything without shooting into the car.
Nobody can hit shit in this movie, which is awesome.
Well, we skipped over one little part where there's 3 kids who
they're dick
do
kids
this
too,
elaborate. They do this elaborate candy stealing scheme in which once it's over and they've stolen the candy, they stand in front of the 2 gay guys whose house, the 2 gay guys live in the Myers house, what used to be the Myers house. They stand there and confront them about having stolen the candy. We've stolen this candy. And he's like, do you know whose house this is? They're like, we're not scared of anything. And I'm like, what? This is like a lot of planning and a lot of jibber jabber for what you could have done was ring the bell, wait till he showed up and grab the bowl and ran.
But they're trying to fuck with them with this razor blade gag. They're trying to fuck with them, and I thought that was funny.
It, but like, why? It was funny, and it was cool, and it was a good establishing scene for those 2 groups of people.
And I love that he's like, this is where Michael Myers lived. He was a little kid. He went crazy and stabbed his sister in the tits. It's great. So that's Big John and Little John. They're these 2, a gay couple. Do you know who they are? I was losing my mind when I saw them in this movie.
Do I know who the actors are?
Yeah.
I know that Little John, who's the taller actor. I recognized him. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's a comedian. Was he in SNL? He played a character in SNL.
He was in Mad TV. He played
Mad TV,
Stuart in Mad TV.
Stuart, yeah.
Stuart, I found on the floor. No, I want to go home now. Awesome. But he's a huge comedian. He did a lot of Mad TV, and he's become a director, right? And he's directed.
If you say so.
He's directed a ton of sitcom comedy stuff, and he worked on a show called The Mick. And I was a VFX supervisor for The Mick. And this other guy, Scott McCarthy, who is in Righteous Gemstones with Danny McBride, who's an executive producer and writer on the film, he was a star in The Mick. And I met both of them on the same day when Big John was directing Little John on The Mick. And I was like, what? I was so cool. And I was super excited because they're both really fun and cool guys. And I love Mad TV growing up. So to see, I guess he was Little John, not Big John, but to see both of them in it together, I was like, that is fucking awesome. Like that I met them together on set, and to see them together in this movie is super funny. I don't know if either of them are actually gay or a couple in real life, but you know what? I think it's funny, and I thought they did a good job. And when they go hunting for Michael Myers in the house, I thought they did a great job building that tension. And then when he pops out and pops Big John's eyes out, that was disgusting and one of the best eye gouges I've ever seen in a movie. Because I always think eye gouges are just like really cheap in a movie because you're like, I'm popping out his eyes now, because you can't really show it that well. They showed it, and they went all the way there.
And also, right before he pops his eyes out, too, he stabs him in the armpit, which I feel like that was one of those, like, like some people don't like have eye things or teeth things, and when they see someone's eyes or teeth get fucked up in a movie, like that feels like such a vulnerable part, and it's so like ticklish or like nerve centery that like to watch someone get stabbed that brutal in the armpit, I was like, ouch! I felt that.
Do you have I don't have an eye or a teeth thing. A teeth you could probably get me if the teeth thing was really gnarly, if like somebody was like grinding somebody's teeth, but but I mean, yanking a tooth out, whatever.
No, I don't have a specific thing.
Wrists do it for me. Like wrist stuff. Wrist stuff makes me go, like I can feel my blood moving at that moment. Like,
yeah.
And my wife will always do this thing where she'll like, if my wrist is laying out, she'll just go with her fingernail. I'm like, whoa, stop it. Because she knows that I'm like, yucky.
Oh. At this point, we got this mob, and Anthony Michael Hall is in the hospital. Yeah. And they're going, everybody in the town is in the hospital. And
Evil really dies tonight.
Before they go, Evil dies tonight. He yells out, he is a predator. We need to be out there when he emerges. And I was like, who yells like a mob like that? But everybody responds to Evil dies tonight. And the best is he's yelling Evil dies tonight. He runs out of the hospital because they think they know where Michael Myers is. He runs out of the hospital in like a full-on run, but turns around to everyone else in the hospital and yells back at them, Evil dies tonight, like he was going to like the pep rally. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also this whole mob is there. Nobody, not a single person thought to go to Michael Myers' house. Now, again, I might be super smart because I watched 12 of these movies already and I know he always goes back there. Yeah. But like, nobody in the entire town was like, he might go back to that house.
Because they think he's going after Laurie Strode. There's that whole thing where everybody's like, he's attracted
he's
to
after
her.
me. I know, but every other movie is like, this is because of me. I could have stopped this. He's after
just
me.
wants
He's
to
not
go
after
home.
you. I'm after him.
Evil comes home. That's, the whole thing in the first movie. Look, the mob mentality gets a little cheesy, no doubt, but no cheesier than the cult.
It's cool. It's fun.
It's at least it's saying something, and I feel like it fits what the movie is doing. It fits the whole town's getting riled up and is ready to kill a serial killer. Awesome. They're getting a little out of hand. That makes sense. It tracks. Is it convincing every minute they're trying to pull it off? No. Does it get a little over the top?
I just figured out what's going to happen in Halloween Ends.
What?
Halloween Ends is going to be the R.L. Stine 1966 movie or fucking 1866 movie, and they're going to chop his hands off and everything, and his spirit is going to go into Halloween 4 and then start that franchise over.
And he starts a cult.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Talk about retconning.
So they mob mentality, they mob up and lynch, basically get this poor lunatic to jump out a window. And it's
okay. So you get this poor lunatic who escaped with Michael Myers, right?
Yeah.
And they've alluded a couple times in this movie to 2 escaped people being out and about.
Yeah.
We see pretty quickly on that there was a case of mistaken identity earlier at the bar with the survivors group. There's a car theft, and we know it's this little ratty guy, weird little inmate who was not Michael Myers.
Penguin motherfucker, yeah.
Sure, a little tiny little old guy. And then that turns into this thing where he somehow gets to the hospital looking for help, gets confused somehow with Michael Myers. Now, again, I know more about Michael Myers than the other people do in this movie. I've seen more of him. But really?
Well,
there wasn't word spread that he had a mask on or anything.
But here's one thing. If you don't see him, anybody who sees him is like, oh, that's not him. But I've been, because, we work in big movies. We work around celebrities. I've been places where somebody's like, movie star over there. And a bunch of people ran down in a certain direction. And you're like, there's nobody over there. What the fuck? And we all, because we're the crew, we're like, they're not over there. That's hysterical. Those people all just ran down there for no reason. And they're probably mobbing some guy with like a push broom being like, what? No, I'm not Norman Reedus. And they're like, give me your autograph.
Well, you get why I'm that's a mob mentality, right? And even Laurie Strode in this movie screams at them, that's not him, you sheep. Yeah.
And they try to stop them from mobbing up on him, but he gets freaked out and jumps out a window.
But first of all, they make this huge, it's a whole scene.
It goes on too long.
Where is it? For sure. And Judy Greer, is that her name?
Yeah.
Judy Greer finds him and she says, I'm not going to let them hurt you. And she locks him in this one space. First of all, why is she taking such a stand? Because she thinks this whole Michael Myers Halloween nonsense has gone too far? It just seems like, first of all, I don't know this guy at all. All I've seen him do is steal a car. So while I know he is not Michael Myers and don't want him to be killed for Michael Myers and stuff, I don't care about him at
all that shit, just have him jump out the window and then just show the sheriff on the trample pad and been like, oh, because that to me was like, he failed as a cop. And I like that.
The thing is, they build it up so much in what I would consider a way that leaves a lot of hole. First of all, why does Judy Greer care? We don't care about this guy. Then later, Anthony Michael Hall is like, I failed. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? Cry about it? Or are you going to go fix this? And it's like, first of all, we didn't see him cry about it. I didn't know that this was really on him that much. So are you overreacting? Or were there more scenes of him upset that we didn't get to see? So I would have either made it an even bigger deal and flesh those. No. But if you're going to do that, flesh them out so at least it holds together, or cut it way the hell down and just make it a mistake that a couple characters like, fuck, we got to figure this out.
Because I think it is a great example that shows, mob mentality is terrible and you never really do the right thing. You're going to do snap judgments and people are going to get hurt. And I wish they had shown that a little bit more, but you didn't need to dwell on it for a whole fucking scene.
Although I thought it felt very disjointed because I didn't think it made a lot of sense. However, in reading about it after the fact, I believe the actor that played that mental patient died before filming was completed. So maybe there was more in the original story that was maybe they were going to do more with it, but then he died and they couldn't. I didn't read that specifically, but that would make sense as to why, at least to me, it feels very disjointed, that little subplot.
And I think that's the weakest part of the movie. But again, It's showing something that is important to mob mentality as
Sure.
as being horrific.
Yeah.
It's the biggest failure of Halloween Kills, but it's not big enough to sink a movie for me. I mean,
I agree.
There's a whole radio host in one of the sequels that I don't need in that movie at all, but we spend a lot of fucking time
Barry?
with him. Yeah, Barry sucks. Barry sucks. What's the shirt Barry rules? The kid wears?
I forget, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that I totally agree with this, but they go and decide to fuck up Michael Myers. He's over at the house and everybody goes over there. The daughter's over there. The granddaughter's over there. The boyfriend's over there. Lonnie Elam's over there. And the whole town shows up and Tommy Doyle like surrounds Michael Myers after he's basically killed everybody. And they beat the shit out of him. And I had this moment because I didn't know, spoiler alert, that this is going to be a cliffhanger and we're going to go on into another movie. I should have. The title's all over the place. But I was like, oh my God, if they cut back to the first person mask view to see him get his ass kicked, this would have been such a full circle, awesome moment. It was such a perfect moment. And if they don't go back into the mask view at some point, I will be severely disappointed. But I get it. Laurie Strode has to be the one to finish this. This was not a movie for her, and it is disappointing that she's underutilized.
She didn't have a scene with Michael Myers in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And also, if you think, I read this too, if you think about it, if you think about the original Halloween 2, which this is the sequel to Halloween 2018.
Yep.
The original Halloween 2, she spent most of that movie in a hospital bed. So this is kind of, I don't know if that's on purpose by design, but it certainly is a mirror.
And I see a lot of people complain, oh, you underused Jamie Lee Curtis. She's one of the biggest stars in history for this role. She's fine. She didn't need a lot of screen time for us to care about her. But here's the thing. Her arc, she has to kill Michael Myers or that's it. Having her chase him the whole time isn't going to work that well. So it's like, this is why they introduce weird cult shit. It's because they can't figure out what to do with her arc. She either kills him or she doesn't, or he kills her. If you put her up against him, the final battle's on. If you have her chase him the whole movie, you have to come up with ways that he gets away from her. And he's not running away from her. He's either going to kill her or she's going to kill him. So you have to keep her away from him, or the movie has to do some weird gymnastics. I'd rather watch him slaughter people I don't know for no reason that makes no sense than have them try and jump through the mental gymnastics and scene plot armor to get her out of harm's way. It works.
And this is, if you know that this is now the middle selection of a trilogy, this is setting certain things up for the final confrontation, right? So I don't need the big Laurie Strode role or the big Laurie Strode battle in this. I wish she'd done something else of consequence, but the only thing that she really did in this movie that matters is her and the cop had that discussion where first they're like, oh, he's not after you, he's after me. Oh, he's not after you. I could have stopped this. Oh, I also could have stopped this. This is all about me. No, it's all about me. But then at the end, they have like, almost the epilogue or the tail end where they're like, he's pure evil, blah, blah, blah. He's going to just get more and more evil. But we got, you said this is the firefighter scene all over again, but this time it's, the group is kicking the shit out of Michael Myers, stabbing him, shooting him, hitting him. Now, here's my thought. And I knew that he was not going to die, right? Or at least they were going to leave it open, even if he didn't get up and whoop the fuck out of everybody else, which is what ended up happening in another awesome scene. Yeah. But like, even if that's the case, why would you get within arm's reach? Like, and this is like the zombie thing. If you're with a bunch of humans and one zombie, if you get bit, you're a fucking moron, in my opinion, right? A walking, shuffling zombie, right?
Sure, yeah.
If you got just you and Michael Myers in the middle of a street and you see him and you have a gun, you're a moron if you can't at least get away, if not kill him, right? Let him get close enough that you won't miss, but not near his strangling, stabbing, or shooting hands, right?
And Tommy Doyle has a baseball bat, and they all should have guns. Tommy Doyle showed up with a bunch of guns. Where are the kids with guns?
It was, what did he get with a gun? And what did he do? He ran right up to Michael Myers to shoot him.
You should just be on the ground, just pop, 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 pop.
In 1933, there was a very famous instance of this. It was the first time that I'd ever seen it on film.
1933?
Correct, yeah. It was a very large ape climbed a building in New York City And planes got close enough to him, planes that were equipped with guns got close enough to him for him to grab them.
Yeah.
And I remember even as a kid being like, why would you do that? Like, I'm not even a video game person, but if I have a ranged weapon and you have a melee weapon, I'm going to stay away from the weapon. I'm going to shoot you from over here. And I don't understand why no one in this crowd, except for that one idiot in the tiger suit or the cat suit, he ran right up to Michael Myers and got killed.
Which is awesome. I mean, good for them for being that stupid.
It was it was a cool ending. It was, again, that firefighter scene where it's like, this is stupid. Nobody in this scene is acting like a real person would or think or would do in this situation, but I don't care because I love it and it's fucking awesome. It was filmed well. That was like fun brutal. Before I said I didn't like some of the brutal stuff. This is fun brutal where he's just like chop, 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 chop.
And the kills are good. It's so bloody. Kills everybody. And you're like, good for you for being stupid enough to walk up.
Arm.
Yeah. Well, so a friend of the show, Nacho Man Candy Sausage, Lee, he hit me up. He actually sent me a voice message where he's like, nah, man, while he's getting his ass kicked and then kicking everybody's ass, Laurie Strode and the cop are like, he's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He's like, he's crazy. Like every time he kills, he gets more powerful. He's like, how did they figure out his psyche when no doctor has been able to do it in like 40 years? And I'm like, because the doctors are twats. They're obviously idiots. Loomis was an idiot. Like every time I see him in a movie, you're like, you are the worst doctor. Like obviously like some state appointed piece of shit. Like probably all his patients just suck. He's neglecting all his patients because he's
I just like to think that he got
Myers,
obsessed.
6 times.
Like he got just as crazy as Michael Myers in an opposite way.
Yes.
He got crazy obsessed with him and wanted to, almost like to a certain extent, the doctor in Watchmen who's taking care of Rorschach. He gets obsessed with Rorschach and Rorschach corrupts him through that. I feel like that's a cool idea for Donald Pleasance to be or Loomis to be. But
absolutely. And it works when you're like, oh yeah, he's batshit crazy. But I think it's just so funny that in all the years they weren't like, somehow the killing makes him stronger. Like how'd they not know that or figure that out? Like it's kind of, it's not as bad as the Prometheus bullshit where like Idris Elba's like, I haven't even stepped foot on this planet. It's a fucking armory and they're making weapons. He's playing his goddamn squeeze box. And everybody's like, oh yeah. It's like, you haven't even been there. You're looking at maps and you're like, I know this is. And you're like, you're not even a scientist. You're the guy who flies the ship. How do you know any of this shit? And it's like, Laurie Strode's like, I've gotten stabbed a bunch and been in a hospital. And suddenly I know I've only seen him kill like 4 or 5 people at this point. How the fuck do you know that he's getting more
a lot of
energy?
There's a lot of deleted scenes when they release the 3-disc edition. You'll see there's a lot of deleted scenes of her just laying in the bed, like thinking, and she's like, you know what?
Huh.
He's probably like that because of this.
And then like
she
people come in and be like,
on the internet.
He killed this other guy. And she's like, did he seem stronger? 6 times. 6 times.
Well, they have this huge melee where they chop him up and hit him and knock him to the ground. And then the main characters, including Judy Greer, are outside of the Michael Myers house. They're all like, oh my goodness, that was so hard. Well, we knocked him down over there.
Yeah.
And then he gets up and he fucks everybody up over there. We know it, but those characters at the house don't know it. And Judy Greer, who's my favorite character, I think, in the movie at this point, aside from Michael, she climbs up the stairs and she goes and she looks out the window, in the spot. In the movie, you and I have not mentioned, we've mentioned it, but we haven't explained it if anyone is listening but hasn't seen the movie. The movie makes mention multiple times of how Michael Myers used to like to stand in his sister's bedroom and stare out the window.
Yeah, he killed her for the room with the view.
Right. So there's a lot of like, what is he looking at? Was he listening to something? Was he seeing something? Did that speak to him? Whatever. So Judy Greer essentially is taking that spot and looking out that window, and Michael Myers walks up behind her and fucks her up. And I thought it was a great scene. It was a great ending to the movie. I really, really liked it. I take points away because the movie with the voiceover was Laurie Strode and the cop just fucking stroking off the French. Oh, Halloween and Michael Myers. Oh, he's just so, there's just, I watched the last 30 movies, but I definitely watched the last 2. I get it. You don't need, I imagine if you were either Laurie Strode or that cop in that hospital and you're listening to the other person be like, oh, Michael Myers, he's so Michael Myers. He's the most Michael Myers that ever. Oh, you're right. But listen, this is about me. I could have stopped him. No, but it's about me because I might be his sister, but I'm also not. I trapped him in a basement. Oh, I didn't shoot him. I also didn't shoot him. Oh, Michael Myers.
Yeah,
and all
get
this
a
time,
room. You do have a room.
Judy, yeah, and we even touch on that. He's like, I always liked you, but you sweet on what's his name? And she's like, yeah, but Michael Myers. But like, no, I thought it was a cool ending to have him show up there and kill her.
You have to take them to the mythological point at some point. They have to become supernatural, or they fail. And it's a hero's quest, but we're getting to see it from the bad guy's point of view. And I loved it. Again, I was super hot on this movie. And Kate had she had a couple good quotes while watching these. She said, that Blumhouse needed to gain the trust of the franchise. But she said, look, 2018, that's date night. They're showing you that they're responsible and they can take you for a good time. This was fuck down. They showed you that they could give a good dick down. Now, the last one better not be a breakup movie, and we'll see if this dick down gives us herpes. So we'll see if Halloween Ends gives us herpes or not. I hope it doesn't. But yeah, because I have zero hope. At this point, I was like, there's no fucking way you can end this in a way that I will be stoked, because you hit the pinnacle at this point. You have nothing nowhere to go.
Don't be so negative. At least give them, without being so excited for the next one. Like, don't get preemptively excited, because then you can get fucked.
Yeah,
but at least be like, I have faith that you won't fuck me up. Like, it might not be a great ending, but you might, like, maybe it won't fuck you up. It won't disappoint you.
But this one,
you already be disappointed.
This one, you already killed the entire town. Like, now you're gonna have, like, he's gonna have to be punching tanks into the next state for me to be happy at this point. Like,
Michael Myers Goes to Hell.
It's gonna have to be kaiju level. Like, he's gonna have to. I've killed so many people.
The cop, right? You have the cop who is in the same character from Jason Goes to Hell.
Right.
Right. He's there. You have Laurie Strode, and now Laurie Strode's daughter has been killed, right? Isn't Judy Greer her daughter?
Yeah, she has something to do now, yeah. And her daughter's still alive.
Right. So Laurie Strode and her granddaughter are still alive.
Yep. But, like, who's he going to kill? Like, he's killed everybody in the town.
He doesn't kill any. This one was Halloween Kills. Next one, he will end people.
Okay.
This Halloween Ends.
I mean, where are they going to go? I mean, is the whole thing just going to be a siege at the house where Michael Myers is in the house and they're just, like, sieging on it? Like, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go,
I want to say
movie?
Totally, but I don't know how many people will get that very cool joke. Totally.
I don't know.
Girl with the nice boobs, you almost see her boobs in the first one a lot. She says totally 100 times. Yeah. I think it's the girl who gets killed by Ghost Michael Myers, like when he comes back with the costume.
Yeah. Where's my beer?
Yeah. She says totally like 1,000 times in that movie.
I didn't notice. I'll have to check it out again.
Totally went over your head? Oh, yeah.
Totally went over my head.
And she looks like she got nice jugs, but you only see them like a quarter of a second.
Oh, that's all you think about, Matt. It's not called Halloween Boobs. It's called Halloween Kills.
Oh, wouldn't that be great if they changed the title at the last minute? That would not be a breakup movie.
But like, this is what I want in a slasher movie. That is the 13th installation in a franchise. Sure. This is what I want. I want body count. That's all I care about. I don't care about the plot. You've already showed me good plot, and you've already shown me terrible plot. So landing somewhere in the middle is fine. You're fine. And it's not precious to me. You haven't set, like, the next one has a lot of stakes because now I'm into your trilogy. I'm into it.
Yeah.
And now you have a fourth one, and the fourth in the franchise never goes so well.
I think you and I have the same takeaways from this.
Yeah.
But it's in different proportions. Like, I have my version of what you're feeling about this. Because to me, I was like, this is a good sequel. This makes sense as whatever you want to call it, whether it's the second or the third in this series. It was a good slasher. It did not shit on the original. It did not bore me. It didn't go into stupid cult bullshit things where I was like, what? Like, there's a couple things in there like, why are you showing me this? But not like a whole fucking scene or a whole subplot where I'm like, what is this? It didn't go against the original. It wasn't boring.
No.
It didn't do, like you and I have talked at length about the things that I don't like in modern horror movies.
Jump
it did not do any of that. It did not really do any of that. And it was shot well. It was good. And I like this franchise. So this is one that you very easily could have taken it too far to the right or to the left, and you would have lost me, at least in that arena. But it didn't. It stayed in the same realm. I can, whether I think of it as a sequel of the entire franchise or of, just its own continuity, I was on board. The kills were good. The makeup was good.
Great.
Rewatchability. Like if a friend was, in a non-COVID time, if a friend came over and said, hey, you want to watch Halloween Kills? Even though I'd already seen it, I'd watch it again. I'd be like, yeah, that was good.
I want to buy a NECA figure of Halloween Kills. I like the burnt look. I like his look. I want that toy now. And of the plethora of NECA figures that I have a shit ton of Jasons. I have all the Freddys I can get, but I only have one Michael Myers, and it's from Halloween 2 because I like his blood tear mask.
Oh, see, I want to get the slaughtered children pack of this, because this is one of the few times we didn't even get into that. But Michael Myers kills some kids in this.
Kills a lot
young
of people.
Teenagers, which we haven't really seen except for, I think, last movie.
I've been obsessed with, because after watching the movies that made us, I've been obsessed with the idea of the Michael Myers mask, because they're like, well, I went into a Halloween store and I was looking for something that could be a blank slate, and I picked up the Star Trek William Shatner. It's a Don Post mask from 1975, and he's like, and I fixed it up, Michael Myers, and I was like, what other masks were possibly
what were
there?
Your choices.
Yeah, if he didn't have the stipulation of looking for a nice blank slate, if he's just like Halloween mask, and I looked up masks from 1975, 76, 77. And there were some hilarious choices. And just go online, look up Don Post mask catalog from the 70s, and you'll see this goofy robot and this horrible bug-eyed gorilla looking thing. And some of them look literally the failed versions where somebody was like, oh, that's version 2, throw that out. And then they're like, well, we need something to sell, so we'll dig out all the failed versions. And it's that's not what a gorilla looks like. You have a good looking gorilla mask here, but here's a blue gorilla that's a horrible sculpt. And here's one that's close to that, but even worse. His nose is up in his forehead. And you're like, wouldn't have that been great if that was Michael Myers?
Then you think in the Rick and Morty multiverse, right?
Yes.
There are alternate dimensions, alternate universes where the Michael Myers movies and the franchise exists.
Where he's in those goofy ass gorilla mask,
blue nose up here gorilla masks, and that's the only difference between our reality and theirs, and it's just whatever has changed because of that.
They had a wolf mask with the buggy eyes, the wolf that's in cartoons that goes "Ooga" when he sees a hot chick and his eyes bug out. They had that mask. I was like, that would be hysterical if you're just getting stabbed to death by Ooga wolf.
And now I'm not a big science guy, but if there is a dimension where their horror movie that had a William Shatner mask was replaced by a blue gorilla mask, is there not an alternate dimension that has a actor who was in Star Trek who actually has a blue gorilla face? That's what his actual face looks like?
You're obviously not a Trekkie, Matt. That's Deep Space Nine. There's 5 characters that look like... No, I'm just... yeah, it's good. I'm excited though, man. This is I am into this franchise right now. I love the reboots. I think it's going in a great place, and I'm really excited to see where they take it. Nervous because this one worked so well for me. In the franchise, talking about the franchise, I want to wrap up soon, but from the franchise, where does this land for you?
Good question. I guess it depends on what I'm looking for, because this specific franchise swings all the fuck over the place. The first one is great. It's great for so many reasons. The second one is a great sequel to that one. Nothing new, nothing amazing, nothing groundbreaking, no great effects. Not really a fun group movie. It's not fun, but it's not a movie that I'm like, guys, Halloween 2 tonight. Whereas Halloween 3 is like, guys, Halloween 3. And that's just so goddamn fun, right?
Anybody, hold on.
Gotta watch the YouTube.
My mic keeps getting unplugged today, and I hate it. Halloween 3, anytime you want to pop that on, I am so on board. I love that movie so much. It is by far my favorite in the franchise. That's my number one. And I know that's not popular, but if you remove it from the Michael Myers verse, it's a fucking great Halloween movie. Puts me in the mood immediately for Halloween. And it's just bonkers. Zero witches, Stonehenge, stolen masks, all the kids die. Come on, that movie is rad.
It's fantastic.
Like 6
that's a good one for any time, right? And then like 4, 5, 6. They're just so fucking bonkers. But like I love them, just like I love Jason movies. Just are the same to me. Like, well, they're really not, but they feel the same, and I like different ones at different times.
But
I feel the same way about
Jason movies are
the later
consistent. Yes, they're the same
for real. I agree,
but they're interchangeable.
Stuff,
different flavors. Whereas Michael Myers 4, Halloween 4, I think is the last one that to me is tolerable. After that, they just get how many ways can I see a guy get stabbed with a big knife while throwing stupid shit at me? I start to get like really pissed off at them because they're so bad. And Loomis, when he's in there, he's just like, I don't know, blah, and his shitty fucking burn makeup that changes every scene and is different in the movie. And sometimes his hand is burned, sometimes that's not. Like, so I get mad at him.
For your question, to answer that, like, where is this in the franchise?
Yeah,
I would say somewhere in the middle, but towards the top. But this is like a real movie. It falls in the same category with the first one. It's nowhere near as good or as groundbreaking, or do I like it as much as the first one? However, it's a good movie. I would watch it again. I'll probably buy this on DVD or Blu-ray at some point. If
I'm definitely buying it for sure.
And it definitely will rewatch. Like for sure, I will rewatch this because I want to, now that I know some things and I know certain things are coming, I'll look for more nuance and stuff next time. It was definitely an enjoyable, I like it. I give it a B. I give it a B. B plus, maybe?
Yeah, that's fine. I think we're on the same page there. I give it a B plus, maybe an A minus.
You just get boners for Bs. I'm an A minus, A plus boner.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing, though. I put this in my top 3. I think it's 3 is my favorite, and then I give 1 because it's a classic and it's solid, and then I think it's this. Like, honestly, is enjoyability for the franchise, and then maybe the original Halloween 2, and then maybe 2018 after that. Like, anything past this, anything in the original franchise, 4, 5, and 6 just don't land for me.
Yeah, I get that, and I have no argument for they don't fully land for me either. But it's like fucking those are movies that I'm like, for Shitty Movie Sunday, someone who's never seen a Halloween movie, you don't need to have seen the rest. It doesn't matter what you're just, even if you start at the middle of the cult bullshit, not at the beginning. You're just like, what the fuck is going on here? This is fun to make fun of because it makes no sense. And I'm like, I've seen the whole franchise multiple times. It makes no sense to me either. So you're not missing anything. And
my favorite part of the later ones is, I think it's in 4, where one of her babysitters has the shirt that says "Cops do it best." I think that's so funny.
That's the highlight for you? That's your favorite shirt of the series?
I get.
Aside from Barry Rocks.
Barry Rocks, yeah, whatever. That Barry sucks. Boo, Barry. I mean, and even the charming Paul Rudd can't save one of those movies. And it's like, I
love that movie. That movie's so stupid. Everyone in that movie is in a different movie. Like everyone doing that, it was almost like they shot them completely separate days with separate directors, separate directions, separate scripts. It's bonkers dumb. But
and Paul Rudd, who usually can turn a movie around for me to be like, oh, you know what? That guy's making it better than it could have been. He acts
his ass off. It is a weird part. Yeah. It is his role is cultivated and directed extremely weird, but he fucking does it. He plays that like that.
The last one, the weirdest one, I think 6, the one that's super culted out and like ends up in the cult like hospital where they're like stabbing, just ridiculous weirdness. That one is at least on par with like a Jason Goes to Hell. And like, it's just that shit bonkers, but none of the kills are good. Where Jason Goes to Hell, not only is it like swinging for the fences, it's memorable for the shit it's pulling off.
Yeah, that's true.
And this fair. To me, I will always be like, that's the one where Michael Myers fucked up. Like, I looked up while we were talking. It's like 32 kills in this movie on screen.
On screen, yeah, that's pretty big.
Which is pretty big for a franchise. I think that's one of the largest you could find in a franchise. I mean, next to, again, like I said, if you're not into the Hatchet Victor Crowley movies, they're like body count. We couldn't make a Friday the 13th.
I don't think I only saw the first one, and I don't remember it.
2 and 3 are great, but they're exactly the same. But the third one's like, I'm going to send in a SWAT team, and they're going to get fucked up, and that's pretty cool. It's like a one-man army fighting.
Yeah, it's like
trained army guys.
Yeah,
and whatever. I mean, I'm here for the kills again. And when I'm watching a slasher movie, that's what I want, especially later in a franchise. I like when a slasher movie is like, we're going to be mysterious and, real technical and slow with the scares, like the first Halloween. I like that. I can appreciate that. But by the time you get to the sequel, what are you going to show me? Don't bring cults into it because that pisses me off.
That just pisses me off.
Don't make him her brother. That'll piss me off. Just kill people.
Well, we'll see what happens with Halloween Ends.
Hope it doesn't give me herpes. Rumi, this has been super fun. I'm glad we got to talk about it. I'm glad we watched the movie, and I like it when we're basically on the same page with a movie. I don't like to when we're diametric opposites like we've been in the past with some films. So it seems like we're on the same page, but my excitement for it is cranked up to 11.
Yeah, your boner is... I'm older than you. My boner's harder to get up. You just get boners no problem. I'm like, well, you got to work for it.
Matt's sitting down for a Halloween movie, pops open the little blue pill vial, and he's like, got to take 2 of these if I'm going to get excited about this movie.
I was about to, and then he fucked up those firefighters. I was like, no, I think those will be all right. I think I could muster. We should, the next time we do this though, I'd love to try to watch it together.
I want to see the fucking boner pill commercial with you trying to watch horror films where you're both in the day tubs watching a sunset, reaching out to Michael Myers, and like Jason's like rubbing your shoulders, and you're like, ooh. When the time strikes, when the mood strikes me, I want to be ready. And Michael Myers is like, thumbs up.
Please contact your doctor if effects last longer than 13 sequels.
Let's blast this thing off, dude. As I forgot to say, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at LaunchpadPod, and our website, launchpadpod.com. Watch us on YouTube. See us crack the fuck up. It's so fun, dude. It's still good.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I'm sure you're going to cut this out of the audio episode, but Rumi's microphone fucked up for a second. He had to pick it up and put it back in the stand. So you guys can watch that on YouTube.
So fucking exciting. Oh, man. Anyway, have fun, guys. It's probably sometime popping out around Halloween. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Hope you enjoyed the movie.
Have fun on Halloween, or if you just did Halloween, I hope you had fun on Halloween.
Don't get murdered.
You got killed. Yeah, right.
We're the Rocketeers, and we are out.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.